What's up, everybody? It's RobLive, and we are back in the Chances Are Production Studios. Ooh, love that audience. Hey, thank you. Well, for those, I don't know if I've clarified this enough, but when people ask what's the channel really about, I like to think that it's a source of inspiration. And so when we seek out people to bring in here and share their stories, right, we want to make sure it's something that's going to touch your heart. And so I think today's guest is a perfect example of that. Without further ado, our special RobLive guest today is CECILIA Espinoza. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
No, yeah, we both are. As always, we got the man with the plan, James Chance. James, what was your middle name again?
Philip.
James Philip Chance. I love to say the whole name, his government name. Back here, this studio, Jim, just gets better and better.
Every day.
I walked in today. There's like 4 brand new arcade games. I wish we could flip the camera to see that. What do we got? We got Mrs. Pac-Man, MGA Jam. What did I say? MGA? NBA Jam, Boom Shakalaka, Monaco GP, which is kind of like pole position, and a pinball game. Was that Haunted House? Amazing the amount of time and effort Jane puts into the studio, and we are so grateful for it. So, CECILIA, what do you think?
This is awesome.
Right?
It is impressive. As soon as I walked in, I realized Pac-Man, favorite game, all-time favorite growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, this all came about because you were in London. Now, for those viewers who are not familiar with this yet, we've talked about it a few times. There's London, England, and then there's London, California. Now, there's several other Londons throughout the United States, but I'm from London, California, small, unincorporated, rural community. And CECILIA works for a school that feeds into that community. So if you grew up in London, you go to Kings River Elementary.
Yes.
Shout out to the pioneers.
Ooh, Kings River.
What are we? Blue and gold, huh?
Blue and yellow.
Oh, yellow. I call it. I try to jazz it up, gold.
Well, we go between the both colors, truly.
So, Jim, you're what? Cutler Cardinals?
Wildcats.
Cutler Wildcats. Yeah, we do they still play Cutler for sports? Do you know that?
I think they do.
Yeah, Cutler and El Monte. Those were the days. Stone Corral. Remember Stone Corral?
Ooh,
going way back.
What was El Monte?
El Monte, dominant.
Braves?
That's all I can tell.
Braves?
We hated to see them. They were always beating us. I don't know. Do you know?
I don't know. No.
So, CECILIA is an employee there at Kings River Elementary. She is would you call your title a
school counselor?
School counselor. But you're so much more than that, and I learned that firsthand. We do a annual trunk or treat event in London. You're there, I'm there, and Connie Huerta, right? Shout out to the great Connie Huerta, the La Madre de London.
Putting together awesome events.
And she introduced us, right? Wasn't it there at the... was it there, the trunk or treat?
You know what? I went to the trunk or treat event, but it wasn't until... It was a couple of months after that. It was in December.
Is that when we ran into each other?
And I believe
the
it was at the
parade.
Christmas parade.
The Christmas parade.
I believe it was there.
Shout out to Sam Smith, always making that happen for us. That was, yes, we're at the Christmas parade, and then we started talking.
Through my principal, Sherry Martin.
Yes. Oh, Sherry Martin says, you got to meet CECILIA. That's right. And then we met, and we talked about a program that you had going on there. And I came to speak at your program, and we'll get more into that later. Yeah. But I remember hanging out afterward and talking to you a little bit because I immediately recognized you had a great connection with the kids. And our kids are the, type of kids that, a lot of them, they've been through something.
Yeah.
And they're trying to come out the other end and turn a negative into a positive or a struggle into a achievement, right? And in order to truly relate to that, you have to have had some sort of journey yourself. And I said, there's something here with CECILIA. And I said, CECILIA, you want to be on the show? And you're like, yeah. There was a little hesitation at first, I'm sure,
hesitation at first. I guess initially I didn't know what type of show was it.
Is this Jerry Springer?
Show? Is it what is it? So I got to know a little bit more.
I'm not very good at that. I'm like,
before
you want to be on
I
the show?
say yes.
No, you're right. Yeah, I don't explain it at all. I'm just like, be on the show. So anyway, the show, inspirational journeys. And so we started to talk a little bit about your journey. And I was like, yep, we need to get Cecilia
This
in
is
here.
the one.
So I want to start from the beginning. Your origin story begins with, where you were born and raised.
Yes.
So where were you born?
I was born in Mexico.
Mexico.
Mexico, state of Michoacan.
Michoacan.
Very small town. It has a long name.
The smallest towns have the longest name.
The longest name. It is called Cuto de la Esperanza.
Cuta de la Esperanza.
Very long name. Small community.
Now, for people who have not frequented this part, right? See, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I've been to Mexico." Really? Where'd you go? Well, I was in this all-inclusive resort. You technically were in Mexico, but you didn't see the whole thing. So when I went for real Mexico, I remember that there was in this particular small pueblito called El Centro, there was no indoor plumbing or electricity.
Wow.
Is this? Are we talking that small?
No.
Your town? Or you had the
Little bigger than that, but we definitely don't have any gas stations. We'd have to drive out 20-25 minutes to reach
to get
the
gas,
bigger city,
and then waste half a gallon getting back.
right?
Wow.
But it's beautiful, and there's a lot of misconception when I tell people, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go back to my hometown and visit. I'm going to go in the summer, or I'm going to spend a winter vacation out there. And they look at me and they say, really, isn't it dangerous out there?
Oh, the cartel.
And I say, well, it depends on what area you're going. But honestly, where I'm from, and I still have a lot of family there. I still have my grandma there, a lot of cousins, tios, tias.
So you're there for all the holidays?
Yeah,
typically?
I try to be. I try. It is very peaceful. I would say that. I will tell you that.
Now, I know a lot of families will have a residence in the United States and then maintain one over there. Do you guys have a property back there?
That's my parents right there.
Oh, okay.
That my parents have worked so much here in the U.S. just to be able to maintain that and just to be able to keep adding on to their house in Mexico for us to,
both.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So that's where you were born, raised in that area. And did you go to school in Mexico, or
you know what I did? I went to school there in my hometown in Cuto, and I did kinder, elementary, and even up to middle school out there.
Okay.
I was always a migrant student. So what that meant for us was my parents were migrant seasonal farm workers, worked in the fields, worked in packing houses. And I would have to go to school for 6 months here in the U.S. until it was time to move back and go back.
Wow.
And we would go back to Mexico for the other 6 months of the year.
So you were going to Mexican schools and American schools,
right?
Simultaneously.
All in the same time.
Wow.
All at the same time.
So were you consistently falling behind because of like, okay, I did 6 months here.
It was hard.
And then I have that transition.
Robert, yeah.
Oh
it was difficult.
And how many years did you have to do that where it was half in Mexico and half in the U.S.?
Well, let me backtrack a little bit on that and tell you, in 1999, my dad decided to bring my mom and myself over to the U.S. So we got a residency. I was 4 or 5 years old at the time, and that was when the first time I got here to the U.S.
Wow.
And of course, we had to start from nothing, right? Like we did not have anything.
Did you have a contact over here, like a relative? Or
the only thing we had arranged was a place to stay. My mom had a sister, and that sister was living at an apartment in Lodi. You're familiar with Lodi, California?
Lodi, yes.
Lodi. And we settled there for a few months. We stayed with them, but it was, I don't know how we made it work. So my tia, she had her family, her kids, husband. They had another family living there.
One apartment.
So one apartment,
Wow.
2-bedroom. So sometimes we go back in time with my parents or my sister, and we start counting. My sister was not born yet at that time, but we start counting and we say, okay, well, truly, how many of us were living there at that point? Was it 11? Was it 12?
Yeah.
Was it a bit more than that? And that's when it all started for us, or at least for me.
And you know what's funny, Jim? I don't know if you can relate to this, but some of the experiences you have when you're a kid that when you're older seem like daunting and overwhelming
Mhm.
were actually fun in that moment. You know, like I remember staying at cousin's house and having big sleepovers. It just felt
100%.
like a fun camping experience.
It's a
100.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
Well, not Fortnite. You would build the forts. Remember, everyone would
Yeah.
get together and
Yeah.
it's like pillows, cases,
And
and
pile in, right? And,
hide and seek in the closet.
yeah. And so and then when you kind of think back on it and you think, oh, I wonder what my parents were going through at that time.
Yeah.
Stress, concern, thinking about having our own place.
Everything.
And they're always worried about us, you know, like, was Cecilia okay? And you were probably having the time of your life to some degree, right? Like, oh, this is fun.
Oh,
All my
yeah.
cousins are here.
Everybody's here.
We
We're
eat
all having a
together.
good time. We all, yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes, you know, kids they're so resilient in the sense they can make the best of a situation.
Yeah.
So at that time, you're in Lodi, and is that where you start school?
That's where I started school.
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
Now you go to kindergarten. Did you know any English at that point?
Zero.
You go
Nothing.
and they're speaking English.
Absolutely nothing.
How did that? How did you manage that?
I think now there's a lot more schools in Mexico that have started to teach that, or they've incorporated that into their schools, but not at that time. I don't think that I knew a single word.
How intimidating. Now, did you have any cousins with you going to school, or were you on your own?
My cousins, one was a bit older. The other
But in your class?
No, the other one was young. She's younger than me. She's a year younger than me. So in my class, thinking back at I was by myself. I was alone.
And you
I
know,
don't know how I even pushed through it.
here's the thing that I'd love to see at some point. You know, I don't know if it's logistically possible. Jim, I don't know if you've ever done this where you've been in another country where nobody speaks the
Mhm.
language that you speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that feels like.
Scary.
You know, because and a lot of times people make these assumptions about, well, you know, you'll get it, or just speak English, or you'll figure it out. But there's such a level of intimidation, and I think for me, the biggest thing for me when I went to, you know, and for us, I mean, in all fairness, most countries do know some English, right?
Yeah.
But there are sometimes when you're in a section of a country, like where was I at the time? I want to say Germany. Was I in Germany? Or France even, and everybody's speaking, you know, French or German at the time, and you're just trying to decipher. There's this level of embarrassment that you're going to mispronounce words or say the wrong thing, and that fear can be crippling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an adult when this happened. You know, I was
Yeah.
like in my 30s. I can only imagine what that fear feels like for a 5-year-old by herself in a school where everybody's speaking a different language. Now, do you recall anything specifically about that experience? Were there people who helped you out or gave you a hard time? Or
I will say I had very, very kind teachers since day one.
love those teachers.
Since day one. Just certain, even not necessarily teachers too, but just certain staff members at the
Yeah.
schools that I was going to, whether that was the school librarian or the lunch lady, there was always somebody. And I think in a little bit, we'll get a little bit more into that about all my traveling back and forth. And it didn't necessarily mean that I was coming back to the same school. Sometimes we had to move around, and I
It
had
was all
to
dictated
be
by the crops. or
placed at a different school, or maybe the same town, but at a different school because
Wow.
of capacity and all those things. But there was a lot of factors that played into that. But I always had that one adult, that one person.
Now, were you seeking them, or would they kind of identify you and take you under their wing?
Both. I think it went both ways.
Wow.
And I will say that that was from first day of kinder, all the way through my
And
whole journey.
and the back and forth went from kindergarten through 8th grade, or when did you guys stop having to travel back and forth between countries?
My sophomore year in high school.
Oh my God!
My
I thought you were gonna say
sophomore
like
year
6th
in high
grade or
school.
wow. So there was
we did
always
that
kind of like
every
that.
single time.
Was there this? Now I just know myself, but I don't want to assume for you. But was there like this sense of like anxiety, like oh
Like I don't belong anywhere.
yeah, like this isn't home, this isn't home, and
Because now I left Mexico.
yeah,
Now I'm in the U.S. Now I'm trying to get adjusted. I'm trying to learn the language. So I don't belong in Mexico anymore, even though I was born there and I have family there and my home is still. I still feel like it's there. I don't belong anymore because I was brought to the U.S. But then,
are the kids? Did you have like a label or a stigma with the kids when you were in Mexico?
yeah,
And so what were you like? Oh, she's the pocha. She has a different language now, or she's the Americana.
se cree mucho.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one's always the one. Like, oh wow, Cecilia's back. She's
She-
no longer one of us.
wow. Now, did you lose friends over this?
Oh, I did.
Now,
I
when
did.
you went back, you'd always go back to the same school in Mexico,
Right.
where your home was, and
Always to the same group of people. Always to the same group of friends, even. But throughout the years, I started losing a few friendships because of that.
Oh man. Did you ever go to your parents and say, "Hey, can we just be in one spot?" Or you just kind of knew the deal?
I knew the deal.
Man,
The moment that I decided to do that, it wasn't until high school. It wasn't until high school when I thought to myself, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do after high school? Like, is it expected of me to follow what my parents are doing? Not that that's bad, because
Yeah.
I value their work so much, but
The
I
work
started
ethic,
thinking
huh?
those kinds of
Unbelievable.
things, like, am I going to end up, working in the fields or at a packing house? Or am I going to go up to them and say, hey, we need to figure something out because I want to continue going to school?
And you finally did make that move, right? Have that conversation,
I did.
and that was when you were
I
sophomore.
did. And it was very positive. I will say that. It was very positive. My parents sat down with me, listened to me, and they said,
Were you surprised?
okay, like we have to do something.
Oh man,
And
huge credit to your parents to be.
huge.
I still have to be
Huge.
reminded by my kids, Dad, can you just please listen right now? Because we're as
Yeah.
parents, we have the answers, and we
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so they listened to you, and then decided that it was going to be the U.S.
We decided.
And where did you settle? What community did you settle in of all the California communities?
So that year when I was 5 and we stayed in Lodi, that was the only year where we stayed there. After that, we went back to Mexico, and when it was time to come back, we came back and settled in Parlier,
Parlier,
California.
P-town.
Yeah.
I have a huge history with Parlier because of my cousins, the Garcias, right? And I think I had told you that on Pettit Street or Pettit Road there.
Yeah.
Quinceañeras,
Oh,
the
yeah.
community center, the pool. Remember we talked about all that?
Everything happened in that
I
area.
love Parlier. I love that town. Okay, so now you're in Parlier. It's your sophomore year, and you told your parents, hey, can we just settle and stay in the U.S. for one complete school year?
Yeah.
So your first complete school year was sophomore or junior year?
My first complete year was my sophomore year.
Wow.
Let me tell
And
you
how
what
did it
happened.
feel knowing that you didn't have to go back in the middle of the school year?
Let me tell you what happened freshman year.
Okay.
So let me share a little bit of that, because we went back to Mexico my freshman year, and in my hometown, it was time for me to obviously enroll in a new school. So
Yeah.
now it was preparatoria. Well, when we were trying to do the enrollment, the whoever was managing that school, it was a new person
Yes.
at the time. From what we kept hearing, they did not accept me in school.
What? So they just said no. You
They just
you
said
keep leaving, or what was their
either
reasoning?
they told my parents straight up, either you're going to stay here or we enroll you, but you stay, you cannot go, or you go back there and figure it out. And at this point, my dad he was willing to do whatever it was to make it work for what we had. He even offered money. He
Now,
offered
did
money.
you have siblings, or was it?
It was just me. I have a younger sibling. We're 9
Okay.
years apart.
Oh, okay.
So,
So a
she
lot
was,
of all this was by yourself,
yes, yeah, completely.
and so that's
She
when
was
your dad.
tiny.
This is when your dad finally said, "All right,
This is what made us decide.
Parlier High
So,
School. It is Parlier Panthers. It is."
He brought me back.
Wow.
He brought me back, but at that point, he brought me back and left me with family members, and I stayed with them until my parents figured something out to come back to the U.S.
And what was that like, being without your parents?
It was my first time being apart from them. First time.
So you're what, 15 years old at the
I
time?
was 15 at the time. It was challenging. It was challenging.
Man,
But at that time, like we were saying earlier, at that point in the moment, we don't see it that way. I was living with I was with a cousin, and because of that, because we lived together for maybe 4 months until my parents were able to come back in Sanger.
Sanger, okay.
We got very close. We
Was
got
it same
very
age?
close, very attached. She's a bit younger than me, maybe 2 years younger.
And she didn't go to Parlier High.
No.
She went to Sanger. Sanger
Sanger.
Apaches.
Sanger Apache. So I was actually at Sanger High for a few months.
Oh, okay. I thought you were Parlier. So you were in Sanger and then to Parlier
Yeah.
when your parents came back.
Yeah.
How did it feel when your parents finally said, "Hey, listen, we're back and we're here to stay"?
Oof.
Sense of relief.
A lot
And you guys have
of
your home in Parlier, right?
yes.
La
A
Colonia.
lot of feelings. A lot of feelings. Positives, negatives. Now I'm starting to think about the future, like what the possibilities are
planner.
endless.
My sophomore year, I was thinking, I don't know, Jim, what you were thinking, but my sophomore year, I was like, okay, where's the next party? Like, my mindset was so not planning the future. I'm so impressed with you.
I think I've always been a planner. But I did went through some rough stuff in middle school, freshman year. At that point, I was still struggling student. And with
So
that
academically.
came academically, and then with that came other things such as, just ditching school or not wanting
Really?
to go to class, showing up late. And now I had, I looked at my attendance, and now I had Saturday school, and I'm behind. And so all that stuff happened between 7th, 8th grade, and freshman year.
Do you think this was more of a rebellious type thing, or do you think it was trying to avoid an uncomfortable situation?
I think it was trying to avoid.
Like, oh, I'm back. I don't know anyone. I'm not that connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, your sophomore year is when you turned it around, or when did you turn it
I
around?
did. My parents had a conversation with me. They sat me at the table, and I was like, "Oh wow, what's gonna happen?
I'm at the table.
What
This
is gonna
this can't be
happen?"
good.
And I still remember they said, "Okay, well, you want us to be committed, and you want us to stay here, and you want us to settle here, which we are gonna do, but you have to tell us. You have to tell us what you want. Are you going to continue doing what you've been doing? Because if that's the case, if you are skipping, ditching, being late to class every day,
Yeah.
if you don't want to go to school, you just have to let us know. Because then what does that speak of you? What does that say? Like, does that say you don't value education, and you would rather go work in the fields with us? Because if that's the case, you just have to let us know. We'll take you away from school, and
Man,
we'll take you to the
Come
fields.
to Jesus moment.
Ooh, yeah. I turned it around after that.
Right there. You're like, I'm not.
I turned it around after that.
And so then after that, academically, you're applying yourself. You're not ditching anymore. What was your social circle? Who were the people around you at the time?
At that time, I jumped around between different friendships, different groups.
So I'm assuming you left the party crew
Right.
and went with the academic crew.
Right. I was always involved with the NJROTC program in high school.
Oh, that's right.
Since freshman year,
I love those programs.
It taught me
Discipline,
a
right?
lot of discipline.
So how did you initially get involved in that?
Recruitment in 8th grade year.
Oh, they came and talked to
They
you. You're
came,
like, "I'll try
talked
it."
to us. Another friend of mine said, "All right, I'll sign up. I'll do it. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll sign up too. I'll do it."
And Parlier has a
And
good program.
they have
The
an
reason I know that, I
amazing
have
program.
nephews who went to Parlier High, and a madrina who actually worked there, and they were all, I believe, I want to say at least 2 of them were part of the program, and they would talk to me about getting to go to like this boot camp like experience.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called. What's it called?
For me, it was an elective, so I had this class every day, and within that class, we had competitions, we still had sports, we had lots of field trips, so we were always busy, always doing something with the program.
Wow. Now, Jim, did you guys have this at a Rosie High?
No, we didn't have any of that.
No military.
No.
What's it called again?
NJROTC,
NJROTC.
so the
I
Navy
know we have it
Junior
in Lemoore.
Reserve Training Program.
Oh, okay, that's what it stands
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So that was really where the discipline kicks in. And so now
100%.
those were your friends at some point?
At that point, my sophomore year, those were the people that I started gravitating towards.
Okay. Now I want to talk about the moment where I was like, we have to bring her in. You said that at one point there was a counselor at
Yeah.
Parlier High
Yes.
that really believed in you, and you kind of credit him with making you feel that college was a possibility. Is that accurate?
That is 100% accurate. And a lot of times when I get this asked a lot, why are you a counselor? Why did you go into counseling? And then at this point, there were a few other students also that he was helping. I can recall 2 of them. And there were a few days where I had to take care of my sister. So keep in mind, we're 9 years apart. And so there were a few days where I would ask, hey, can she come? Can I bring her?
You brought
Right.
your sister?
So my sister would come. She would join me. She would wait for me.
Oh, your parents were at
and
work.
They
right?
were working.
Yeah.
They were working. So there were a few days where she even joined us. And now I can't think of how it even all started, but there were a few of us, and Larry had a very, very kind heart. Very kind. So one day he said, all right, you guys, let's get in the school van and let's go get something to eat. And we're like, okay, let's go. A break from all these books.
Yeah.
Let's go. So there was, I believe, 3 of us, Larry and my sister. And yeah, sure enough, drove us to.
Did you guys do that chicken place in Parlier? What's the chicken? The famous chicken one? The crispy chicken?
Oh,
El
is
Corral?
that Corral Cafe?
Yeah, Parlier's
We,
has some spots.
And then yeah, that happened several times on several occasions. And so I come home and I tell my parents about this. No, we ate. The counselor took us. So then my parents start wondering, like, who is this man? Like, they thought it was just weird that a counselor or a staff member would just drive us around Parlier to get us food. And so I'm explaining to my parents, like, no, he wants to work with me. He wants to help me. He's doing all this stuff for me. So at this point, my parents are kind of like we want to
Skeptical?
know, a little skeptical about it. We want to know who this man is,
Yeah.
And one day they finally get a chance.
Did
to
they go
meet
to the
him.
office, or did he come to your house, or
He actually came
over?
It was a perfect timing where he said, all right, I'll drop you guys off. And so he did. He dropped the other 2 students off, and then my sister and I. And I believe it was my mom that met him for the first time. She was home. And very...
Does Larry speak Spanish?
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did. My parents only speak Spanish.
Oh, okay.
And so I cannot even tell you. It was probably minutes of conversation, and they had already clicked. They had it's weird. They had already created almost like a bond.
Just
It
like
was
that.
instant with my mom.
Wow.
Instant.
The perfect counselor at the right time in your life.
Yeah.
And he connects with your parents. He earns their trust. And you guys commence to work for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
At what point did you start to believe, like, this man's going to get me into college? Like, at what point were you bought in?
Maybe beginning of my senior year.
You're like, look at his
It's like,
applications, right?
because this is real. Like,
So he's like,
wow,
hey,
like
you
it's
ready to fill
real.
this out? And you're like, we're doing
He
this?
connected me with a couple of interns that were there. There were a few college interns that would come out from Fresno, I believe, and so he connected me with the right people also. He would make me go in and talk to my academic counselor too, and he would tell me the things that I needed to do and that I needed to say, because I was still a bit lost.
Yeah, I mean, he's
My
trying to figure it
senior
all
year,
out.
still lost. First person really in my family to go to college and go through this process
God.
of
Where did you apply?
applying and financial aid and all this
FAFSA.
stuff. Yeah,
And at the
everything.
time, it was paper, right?
Everything.
It was, oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm so, I sound like an old fogey now with the kids, like, back in my day, right? But the kids, it's all online.
Yeah.
The FAFSA's just,
It's different. It
It's
was very
different.
different. Yeah. And so I decided to apply to Fresno State.
Now, did you apply to multiple schools or just
I did not.
Fresno? That's it.
I did not, Robert.
You're like, I'm a bulldog.
Just Fresno State. Obviously, my backup plan was Ridley College.
Yeah.
A lot of
Ridley
people went
Tigers.
there, and so that was my backup plan. But other than that, I did not had another school aligned. And let me tell you what happened with that. So there was a little hiccup with my credits, my A through G requirements. Despite having a migrant counselor and an academic counselor, something got overlooked. I was missing 5 credits from my A through G requirements
Oh,
from a biology class that I took freshman year, and I had left to Mexico.
there you go.
And I never blamed my counselors for that, because now I'm a counselor and I see what the caseload is, and I
Yeah.
see that it's a lot of kids we have to work with, and we have to check that everything is in order. So I was not meeting the requirements to go to Fresno State.
And when do you find this out?
Ooh, let me tell you about. Well, I can't remember when exactly
But it was a
I
junior year, senior
but
year?
it was pretty
Right before you needed to
probably
apply.
right before.
Oh,
It was probably right before. There was no time for me to do at that point any credit recovery, nothing.
so
So
I
for
want to
a
hear
certain
how'd you figure this out?
for a certain amount of time, I had lost hope. I had lost hope until I heard about the camp program at Fresno State.
What's the camp program?
So the camp program stands for College Assistance Migrant Program.
Does that still exist?
He's still there. They are still there. It's an awesome program where they will actually go out to the high schools.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember they came out to Parlier High. And I know they still do that. They have a recruitment team. They go out to the high schools and they identify high potential students who might be missing 1 or 2 requirements, whether that's credits, A through G's, maybe GPA slightly lower
Sounds like it was
than
designed
what
for
Fresno
you.
State requires. And so, they get me connected with Fresno State. With camp at Fresno State. And I applied. And I was told that they had 15 special admission spots. And
Out of all those applicants.
out of all those, out of very many, I was selected.
And when
And
did you find out?
I received special admission
Oh.
to be able to attend Fresno State.
So you're in this point of despair and you're not sure, and then here's the Hail Mary
Boom.
pass, And
that
then does
comes
Larry
out.
come tell you? How'd you find out?
I think it was the whole counseling team there.
And they were like,
Everybody.
you got in. What'd you do in that
Everybody.
moment?
I got a letter.
Did
I
you
got a letter
cry?
in
Did
the
you break down?
mail.
Like,
I couldn't believe it. It like you
man,
said earlier, it was designed perfectly. I fitted in so perfectly with what this whole program does for people like me.
camp program, Fresno
Camp.
State.
They are still there. Ophelia Gomez still runs that program.
Ophelia, okay. Shout out to Ophelia. Thank you for looking out for Cecilia. She's now helping all these other kids. And so now you go home to your parents and say, hey, I'm going to college.
I made it.
What'd they say? What was their reaction to you
Ooh.
being the first? Because I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but I know talking to any parent I know, even Jim, we all want better for our kids, right?
Extremely proud. They were extremely proud.
They're working in the fields, they're doing all this, migrating back and forth, and now their daughter's going to college. The plan worked out. You said,
it did. It really
Wow.
did. After just having all these setbacks
yeah.
prior to getting there, and then it happened for me that way.
And then
It was meant to be.
Larry's right there for it all, and so now graduation day, you're getting your diploma. Now, were you the first in your family to graduate from high school as well, or?
Yeah. So only have one other sibling, and
Do you remember?
she's younger, so
No, but your
I'm
parents, did
the
they?
first one,
What was their education level for your parents?
probably up to 5th grade.
Wow. And then just all
In
work from there.
Yeah,
So they're at
like 5th,
graduation.
6th grade.
You're crossing the stage. That had to be a moment.
Ooh, that was beautiful.
Did they ever say anything to you at that time? Like, we're so proud of you, or we can't believe it, or all our work was worth it?
Oh yeah, and I still hear it.
It's to this day, huh?
Till this day, I still hear it.
So now
I
you
still hear their
graduate,
words.
and then what do you do that summer? Are you already starting your setup
Actually,
for Fresno State?
Already starting classes at Fresno State.
Oh, in the summer?
Got an early start to
Man.
Fresno State.
Now, how did you know what your focus would be, your major?
I always knew I wanted to be in education
Why?
because of all the adults in my life.
That it helped you?
All those teachers that helped me, that shaped me in a way.
And now you're that person.
And at
For
that
kids.
point, when I started there, my undergrad studies, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an ELD teacher is what I
Wow.
was going for.
And so you start on that path. And what was college like for you? The whole experience? I mean, it's like thousands of people, big buildings.
I met a lot of people. A lot of people who I'm still in contact with, a few of
Okay.
them. I attended a counselor conference a few days ago in Tulare County Office of Ed, and I actually bumped into two classmates at the time who were also involved with camp, and it was just it amazed me to
They're
see
teachers?
that now they're counselors
Other
too.
counselors. Oh,
So the
man.
three of us were, we had a few minutes to catch up a little bit, but we thought it was so cool.
Now, did you have any
where we started.
struggles college-wise, or were you kind of focused at that point?
I was very focused at that point, but it was still challenging.
Yeah.
The academic piece.
Oh, man, I don't
The
know.
academic piece, it was still difficult for me at that point.
Yeah, I just, for me, it was, like you're saying, it's like, it's a whole nother level of rigor
Hmm.
that I wasn't used to because I was,
Yeah.
fairly lazy high school student. You seem to be a hard worker. You had some work ethic there. So to me, it was overwhelming to be in a class with like 200-300, like an auditorium.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a classroom. My big moment, and I don't know if this opened your eyes at all, but I remember my first class. It was a big auditorium, music appreciation,
Uh-huh.
Allen Hancock College Bulldogs. And I'm sitting there, and in the middle of the lecture, a guy stands up and just walks out. And I'm looking at the teacher like,
What's happening?
is he going to tell him something? Is he going to call him back? Does he need to bring a tardy pass? Like, I didn't get it. And then it hit me really hard, like, oh my God,
This is how it is.
you're an adult. If you choose not to come, that's it.
They're not taking attendance. They're not counting tardies.
And there's no like test reminders. It's
Yeah.
in the syllabus.
Mm-mm.
And it just like gave me this whole nother level, like, ooh, I got to put on my big boy pants. You know what I mean? Did you feel that too, or were you already
No, I did. I did. And I had to take advantage of all the things that were being offered.
programs?
Tutoring, programs, study hours. I remember, I think what got me through the beginning of my first college year, was having a strong group of people who we would study together. We would
Study
book a
group.
room. We would book
Did
a
you
room
did
in the
you
library.
did you organize that group, or did you guys just kind of organically find each other?
We found each other.
Wow. How big was your crew?
We were about maybe five of us.
And that was and you had all classes
Five
together
of
and you
us.
do study.
We had a few classes together, and we would book a study room in the library where it was nice and quiet and peaceful. And
Yeah, Fresno State Library is huge.
it's
now that I think
beautiful
about
too.
it.
It is
Okay.
beautiful.
So now, were you commuting from home, or were you living near campus?
Commuting every day.
So the 99, like you
Every
drove
day.
today. Were you getting flashbacks when you drove
The
today?
99. I used to drive a Honda Accord 96.
Okay,
It's this like
great on gas. Hey.
green, gray type of color. Amazing on gas.
Yeah, that's what I love. I still have Hondas to this day. I had the Accord as well.
Yeah.
So you're commuting back and forth, and how many did you do? 4 or 5 years? How many years did you
I
do?
did 4. I did about 4.5.
4.5.
I did.
I
four
was
and a half.
closer to 6 because I kind of lost my way.
And
So
everybody has their own.
Yeah, right.
Their own
It's-
journey. You
so when
take
did
your
it
own
switch
time.
from teacher to counselor? Because I know you said you started out intending to be an ELD
I did.
teacher.
I did, and when I graduated in 2017 with my bachelor's, and at this point, I've still pretty decided that I'm going for teaching, and that
Yeah.
I'm going to apply for the credential program, and all of it. You're a teacher, so you understand the process. So I attended a celebration there at Fresno State. It was this massive event. I believe it was the Cesar Chavez celebration,
Okay.
and they had a lot of booths, set up booths, and I was walking around, and I had visited one booth, and it had turned out to be somebody from camp. He had worked for camp many years, and when I was there, when I started freshman year, he was one of the recruiters that interviewed me. His name is Rodrigo. He's still there.
He's still there, huh?
But at this point, he's working for some other graduate studies department. So I'm walking around like nothing. It's a fun event. So I'm not even thinking about school or credential or graduate school. Nothing. It's a fun event. And so I go up and talk to him, and he's asking me all these questions like, okay, like, mija, because he uses that word a lot. Okay, mija, where are you headed next? Like, what are you going to do now? And I hesitated. I didn't tell him. That I was thinking about applying for the credential program.
What was your hesitation?
Whether I truly wanted to be a teacher or not.
Oh, okay.
When he asked me directly,
Yeah.
I had hesitation, and so he said, "It sounds like you're not sure.
Yeah.
You're not sure what you want to do." And he gave me a booklet that had a couple options, and he talked to me about several programs, graduate programs. Counseling was one of them, and we talked briefly about it. And I went home. The event was over. I went home, and
But
now I have this
the
in my
seed
hand.
was planted.
And the seed
He-
was
Rodrigo, you
planted.
knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
And then
And I go home. I still have that. I'm reading it. I'm reading
Yeah.
what's that even all about, because I feel like at this point I still wasn't sure.
Yeah.
That I had mixed thoughts. Like, really, what really am I gonna do? And I think that's what did it for me. And
Wow.
thinking back at everything that I went through in high school with my counselors and with Larry,
yeah.
and how much of an impact he had, I said, okay, I'm going to become a counselor.
No, that makes sense to me because, when you have someone who makes such a huge impact in your life, and you're that type of person who wants to give back. You're like, let me give that very gift that I benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was my whole mindset too. Like being an educator. Like when I was younger, there was the library.
Yeah.
The library provided me and planted seeds for dreams and ideas, and it was a positive experience. And so now when I was older, it's like, can I give that?
That was your life.
And yours was the counseling and the
And
support.
mine was that all those high school years and
Man,
all the hard work.
So
Yeah.
fast forward to now, you're a counselor. Was your first job at Kings River Elementary, or was it somewhere else?
Yes, my first job.
That was your first job. So
That
how
was
long
my
you been
first
there?
job. I've been there for 6 years actually,
6
but
years.
I started as a part-time employee.
Oh, okay.
So as I'm going to grad school to
Mhm.
become a counselor, I'm working there part-time.
Okay. And is it still
Um,
the commute from Parlier?
Yes. Yes. And
Now,
so
currently, right now, are you
I still live in
in
Parlier.
Parlier? Okay.
Still
That's
live in
not too far
Parlier.
from
It is not,
Kingsburg,
you know
right?
what? It's a 15-minute drive.
The only thing that scares me
15
about the
minute.
valley, and this is anywhere in the valley, I don't know. Jim, do you guys get the fog out here?
Well, yeah, we're in the ranchos, man.
It's crazy fog here.
Yeah, it is.
Those back
Oh,
roads.
man.
Back roads. Yeah.
Back roads are
That's- That
no
is my
joke.
only consideration when it comes to distance. Like, I don't mind commuting for a job, but when you have fog and back roads, it's, you know, we still got to figure that out. Don't you guys think that, like, they call foggy day schedule, right?
Mhm.
For the kids. Teachers still got to be there. Somehow we have better vision than the entire, right? How does that work?
All the time, yeah.
They're like, yeah, well, we foggy days for the kids. We expect you all to be there at 8 a.m. The bus driver called it.
Yeah.
He can't see.
You know, and what's funny about that is working in the media. We're living in Cutler all my life and Orosi and stuff, and then working in the media, the most accidents were prone to field workers going to work in the morning in the fog, and it was
Yeah.
always coverage that
Scary.
we did. It was scary. Yeah, we lost one of our good friends growing up. He worked in the fields with his parents in the morning, and he was killed in a car accident. Yeah, going to work. So, yeah, it's just
Scary.
nature of the beast on that. They gotta go to work.
Yeah.
There's no foggy day schedule for migrant workers.
I know.
No,
But for kids,
there's
right?
no such thing. Yeah.
we would wake up and we'd watch Channel 18.
Oh,
We'd
yeah.
watch the name scroll and we're
we
like,
get-
channel.
come on.
We would get pissed if our names aren't on there. I can't
So-
even see my mailbox.
Checking every minute.
Let me tell you the worst thing for us, right? London kids. So do you guys, I don't know if, I haven't told you the story, but London, you know why it's called London?
I actually don't.
The founder who purchased that area, I'm trying to think of his name right now. I think it's Barch. When he first went to go look and purchase that land, it was a foggy day. And so he's looking, he's like, wow, the fog is thick out here. It's like London fog. And so he named the town New
Oh.
London. Right? That's the real name of the town. It's
Yeah.
New London.
New London.
I'm gonna have to Google that.
Yeah.
No, I'm
No.
kidding.
This is a story. Facebook verified. And so that was part of our culture, right? Is to know that there was going to be foggy days, and so we would check Channel 18. But here was the trick, and you know this now, Jim. You're looking for your school, right? Well, we have Kings River Elementary,
Oh.
and we have Kings River
no.
Hardwick. So as it's coming
No.
across the screen, we see Kings River, yeah, and then you see Hardwick. Oh, right? Got you excited. And so I'm sure Hardwick would be upset when it was us, and we'd get mad at when it was them. And then I went on to, fast forward that I'm working in Kings County, and I know a lot of Kings River
Yeah.
Hardwick teachers, and I was like, you guys were the enemy, right? Same thing, right? You've
Well,
seen
you
that?
know what? We still get mistaken a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And kids will like not show up to school, like, no, we were on there. That's Hardwick, son.
Not Kings River.
Where's this Hardwick place? I want to see it. So now you're at Kings River 6 years, and you put together this amazing program. All right, I think you said that you had partnered first with
had
another guy
partnered.
from Parlier,
We had partnered last year.
Martin.
Maris.
Maris. Shout out to Martin. What's his thing? He has network, baby. Right?
Yes.
Does he? I've never heard him verbally say it, but it's all over his Facebook. Does
And that's
he?
another connection we have.
Does he
that-
say it out loud when you meet
Oh,
him?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
When I meet him in person, I want to hear him say that, because all over his face, network, baby, and then an exclamation point. So how did you meet Martin?
So he used to be, he was a teacher.
Okay.
He was a
At
teacher
Parlier High?
at Parlier High.
He's a Panther.
He was a Panther, and I think he also taught at the junior high.
Okay.
He did both.
Is that Tuolumne?
schools.
Or is Tuolumne the elementary?
No.
What's that junior high called in Parlier?
Just junior high.
Oh,
High
Parlier
school,
Junior High?
Parlier
Okay.
Junior High. Yeah.
I don't know where I got Tuolumne.
Yeah. Well, we have Berletic, Benavides, Cesar Chavez, Martinez.
Oh, it's way up.
Yeah. No, we don't
Okay.
have it. Maybe the street.
Maybe.
Maybe it's the street of one of the elementary schools.
Okay, that might be it.
But,
So you were you're there. You meet Martin.
I was a student. I was a student.
Oh, okay.
I was actually.
So how did you know to
reconnect?
reconnect?
The whole thing last year came up at a meeting, at a superintendent's meeting that he went to and presented. And my principal, actually, Sherry Martin, was there.
Sherry Martin.
And she learned a little bit about what he's doing in his whole project.
Man,
and
Sherry, she's like a recruiter, huh? She'll get all the all-stars for her kids.
Yeah,
she's
she is.
She's a principal and superintendent,
Right.
right?
That's right. That's right. She's been doing that for a while. And
No,
so,
and she I remember one time I went to her and she's like, "Hey, you gonna come to the ballet?" I was like, "Ballet? You guys doing ballet?" She's like, "Yeah, we perform on stage." And I go, "Sherry, how do you?" She finds these things, huh?
yeah, all these things.
So she brought this in with
have
Martin.
so much now, and
And
that
what is it called? Saturday Academy, or what do you guys call it? College Academy.
College Academy. Last year we called it College 360.
Okay.
Um,
And what is it?
and so now this year, I'm running it this year, and now we've adopted the name Kings River University.
I love that.
Kings
That's my
River
sweater.
University.
I should have wore the
Oh,
sweater.
you should have.
I love that
yes.
sweater. I get so many comments on it when I wear it on Facebook. They're like, Kings River University, because I knew a lot of old pioneers.
Yeah.
Well, not old. You guys still young at heart, but okay. So then you start this academy.
So there's 3 pieces to it. So let me tell you what they are. And you were there. You noticed.
Oh, I noticed. It
You
was
noticed one of
impressive.
them. So our goal is to teach students those communication skills, how to communicate with others, how to present themselves in public, how to introduce themselves with other people, how to network. So we do a lot of team building activities. We meet once a month. We have we have 2 more for the rest of the year, I believe. 2 more leadership sessions on Saturdays, and so that's one focus. The second focus would be bringing in inspirational people like you, bringing them in to talk to the kids of various backgrounds, really.
Thank you for that, by the way. That means a lot to me. I love doing that part.
And the kids connected with you so well. I will tell you that.
Thank
And
you.
Hearing your story that you grew up where they're currently living, and not just that, but that you were a student at Kings River, and
Yeah.
your
So
whole
many parallels,
project,
yeah.
a lot of those things, and you were very real with them and sharing your story, and it was impressive how engaged they were with you. Not that doesn't happen all the time, but they were just so engaged with you.
No, thank you for sharing that. That means a lot. So this Saturday program, I remember going, and I'm going to tell this story on camera so they can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting in the back because you guys said, "Oh, speaker at 11," but you guys start at 10 or 9, right?
At 9.
So they're going from 9, 10, 11. You guys doing some other activities.
Yeah.
So I'm there waiting around for my chance to speak, and I'm going to just hang in the background. 4 young men from your program get up out of their table, walk over to me, hand extended,
Mm-hmm.
shake my hand, firm handshake, look me in the eyes. "Oh, nice to meet you. You must be our speaker today. Are you Robert?" I'm like, and now I'm like shocked, and I'm like, wait, what happened to my social skills? I'm not used to kids.
No.
And I was like, "Oh, yes, I am. Oh, my name's Rodrigo. They said all their names.
Yeah.
And they said, "We're practicing the 5, what is it called? The 5 expectations, or
The 5 norms.
the 5 norms, posture, eye contact, firm handshake, positive body language."
Attitude, enthusiasm.
And I was like, "You guys are amazing." I was like, "Are you sure that you want to hear me speak? I don't know what I can offer given how prepared you already are." And I was so impressed by that. You do an amazing job with those kids. And I thought,
Thank
because I
you.
have kids that age.
Yeah.
I have a daughter. I was like, man, I wish my kids were able to do something like
that.
this.
We have, as you know, we have a cohort of 25 students.
Yeah.
25 students are being a part of this school year, and a variety between 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, all mixed in that cohort. And I think it's amazing to see them from the beginning of the year in August, like
Yeah.
maybe when we had our first meeting, or when they filled out their application, because they have to fill out an application to be part of the program. And we look through them, and we look at, everything. Are they involved? Potential grades, everything, right?
Yeah.
The whole child. And now looking at them now and how much growth they've had, it's awesome.
They're really
It's-
preparing those kids. And for me, I have friends who are not teachers, but they have a true appreciation for it, right? And they always try to tell me, like, dude, you don't understand how many kids' lives
Mhm.
you're changing on a regular basis, because you don't always see it, right? When you're in the trenches, when you're in the mix, you're so busy
Mhm.
trying to help these kids that you don't always take a chance to step back. And I look at Jim and what he's doing. Jim has the video production, and he was the ASB director for many years, right? And the rallies this guy would put on, he'd send me video, and I'm like, Jim, this is a full on concert, bro. Like, we didn't have this. He's got motorcycles and lights. I said, these kids will never forget the way that you brought it to the table. The screaming, because rallies are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so he would,
Unforgettable.
yeah.
That's what they're
and
supposed to
then
be.
and then he says to me, he's like, hey, can you send me some of your scripts that you guys do in your creative writing class? I'm like, what are you gonna do with that? He's like, oh, we're gonna turn it into a movie. I'm like, you're gonna let these kids
Wow.
Sure enough, right? I sent him a script.
And they're waiting for the next script.
Yeah. By the way, they come back with the acting, setting, background,
Everything.
angles.
They've
And I'm
got
like,
it.
oh my God, Jim, do you understand that these kids, they're going to remember this?
It took one push, and that was Jim.
That was it, and you're doing that. Hopefully I'm doing that in my classroom. But as teachers and counselors, we forget, because we're so focused on,
Mm-hmm.
and we're overwhelmed, that we forget, like, you've already sent generations of filmmakers out. 10 years from now, there's going to be a movie made by one of his kids. Be like, oh, I know that kid in the credits. And,
Wow.
there's going to be kids who end up successful college careers and maybe become counselors because, Miss Cecilia looked out for me. We forget that sometimes. And I'm starting to see it now. And it's a really great feeling that overcomes all the things that, I mean, there's that other side,
Oh,
we
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
the strikes and
Yeah.
the pay raises and the hours and
The
But
kids,
man.
the kids you want to choke.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I
Or-
don't. I don't.
or all the
We're having tough conversations with certain students
Yeah.
too, and a lot of times when I'm in the role, I talk to them and motivate them. If
Yeah.
I see that they're struggling, and checking in with them and being, hey, like, what's happening, what's going on, talk to me. And a lot of times I think to myself, like, maybe as much as I can say to this student right now, this boy or this girl, maybe they might not get it right now,
hmm
but in the long run, later on, they might remember what we talked about. They might remember what I said to them,
yeah,
and
they will,
they will.
because I remember now, and so I just want to thank you so much for continuing to, invest in our future, and especially London kids who go to Kings River. Like, how much more could that be my path, and we're gonna have the next Cecilia Espinoza counselor coming out of there.
Let me tell you, the third part of this whole program is college exposure, and letting those not just necessarily London kids, but our Kings River students, letting them know what's out there and showing them.
Oh, the
and,
field trips, huh?
and taking them.
Where do you guys go?
We visited UC Merced already.
Yeah, you told
back
me
in
that one.
October. This upcoming Friday, next Friday, we're going to Fresno State.
Fresno State.
Fresno State. I am so excited.
I,
I mean, going back after
I know it's your
living
school.
there for like 8 years or 7 years, and so I'm putting everything together to where we do a tour. They will experience the Bulldog Bowling.
Oh yeah, there's the bowling.
Yeah, they'll experience the challenge course, the ropes course.
That's right. And you know what's funny is like the way a kid's brain works. I don't know, Jim, if you remember this at all from you take your kids on field trips, right?
Yeah,
and then you always ask, hey, what'd you guys remember? We had pizza.
Food. It's always the
the
food.
food.
For me, when I went on those college trips, because I was a transfer, I was at a junior college trying to transfer in, I couldn't believe that there were bowling alleys on college campuses. You know, you just don't.
Yeah. No.
It's like, I want to go here. Well, why?
like,
There's a
what?
bowling alley. like I'm going to, like, I'm gonna spend every day there. Or they have a pub.
Or a Starbucks.
Yeah, it's like, it's always the random, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
that excitement.
I can't wait to keep giving them those experiences. And we have 2 more after that. A line, we'll take them to Monterey Bay. So the
Monterey
state.
Bay, that's beautiful.
And then eventually we'll end it up in May. We'll go to UC Berkeley.
Wow.
I am beyond excited.
That was my dream school growing up.
Oh, really?
Who did I just meet? Someone who went to Berkeley. Yeah, I'm working with some nonprofit people who went to Berkeley. And I told them that was my dream school. They're like, why? I said, well, I don't know. I just like the Golden Bear. And like, for no good, like I didn't have any strong reasoning behind it.
It's a beautiful school. It's a beautiful campus.
Is it?
So
okay, I need to check
I
that out.
visited one time last year, and so I can't wait for the kids to see it, to see what it could be like, and to hopefully instill that in their heads that even if it's not college, because I know college isn't for everyone, but they at least need to know everything that's out there. Trade schools, vocational, community colleges.
What are my options?
And we do have a lot of those conversations, even in our Saturdays, just letting them know everything that is out there.
Good. So I want you to know that somewhere on the other side of that camera out there right now is a young student who's struggling, who just came from another country, who's trying to figure out the language, who might be moving from place to place, and they're looking for a little sign of hope or advice or insight. What would you say to someone who right now is currently going through it in terms of trying to survive academically in a new world and a new language?
Yeah, if I could give advice to somebody that's going through what I went through, and even thinking back at myself, my younger self, I would say surround yourself with good people. Don't be shy to ask for help. 'Cause it takes a lot of courage to ask for help, and I think I must have done that very well growing up, high school, and even beginning of college, seeking help, talking to people, going into someone's office and say, hey, can you help me out with this? So don't be shy. Ask for help. I know it takes a lot, but the other thing would be just follow what your heart tells you is right. I live by that.
Right. Move with courage and follow your heart. I like that. Well, I want to thank you for being on RobLive today. Cecilia Espinoza, everybody. Can we get some applause?
Gracias.
We're like cameras.
Gracias, Robert. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. Once again, Jim, we can't thank you enough for this beautiful setting, this studio you've created. We have an official name for it, right? Jim, you're calling it Chances Are Productions Studios? Or?
Yeah, that'll work.
Wow.
In the Madera Rancho.
In the
California.
Madera Ranchos. Beautiful
It
Madera
is
Ranchos.
so cool. I feel so at
feels
peace.
legit, right?
It just feels like, it doesn't feel like you're in a studio.
It's cool.
It feels relaxed. Yeah.
So we're going to land up as we always
Pretty
do. Thank you
impressive.
guys for tuning in. You want to learn more about Cecilia, check out her program on her website, which is Kings River Elementary. And she's doing some great things out there. Until next time, it's love, peace, and chicken grease.
Thank you.
We out.
perfect song.